Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Randy with Tech Rescue coming at you live right now to bring you an update. Most weeks I'll be live Tuesday around noon, but today I need to bring an update on something that on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I talked a little bit about the Colonial Pipeline breach. Well, a few updates. One, it's come to light that they paid the ransom most likely right away. They just started the fuel flowing back today. But the main reason I wanted to go live today was to let you know that yesterday, Joe Biden, president, he dropped a new cybersecurity executive order. I mentioned on Tuesday that they had already said that this was coming and to be expecting it. And I wanted to catch you up here because this really will be a game changer, and it's going to change how a lot of businesses do business. So, especially right now, if you are in construction, if you're in security that does business with the government, if you're in any kind of group that does business with the government, it's really going to affect you. So, yesterday after it dropped, I read a ton of it, perused most of it. And basically, the majority of it is going to address how the government deals with people that it does contracts with, because that's one thing that they can kind of control without, without like having to have special laws and things like that. And it's going to basically, your business is going to need to be following the NIST security guidelines. It is a basically, it's a pie that talks about different aspects of cybersecurity. President Biden mentioned it exactly, or like right at the beginning. He mentioned it. He didn't use it he didn't say NIST guidelines, but he used the code words from each of the NIST pie piece sections. And so, bottom line is, if your company, let's say you're in construction and you're doing contracts with government entities, which I know several of our clients are, you're going to have to get up to speed on that. I was reading through a lot of it, and I was like saying to myself, it's about time. The big section, which doesn't really relate to if you're doing business with the government, but the big section that I was super relieved to see was there is an entire section about software developers. I've mentioned over the last couple of months that the huge breach that happened, the SolarWinds Orion breach, a lot of people are like, well, that was a really sophisticated breach and this and that. And in my opinion, it wasn't. Okay. It really looks like one of the programmers got up to go use the restroom or go outside or went to have a smoke or, had a phone call, stepped away from their computer. And I've seen the code that was injected, the initial backdoor, and it's, I want to say like 6 or 8 lines. Like it's like this much. It's not very much at all. And literally the person doing the programming could have stepped away for like 5 minutes. The hackers were watching that person's computer. The guy steps away, girl steps away, whoever it was, they step away. The hackers scroll to wherever they need to go, and boom, they inject the code and they go back to where the person was. And boom, now you've got a backdoor that's about to get signed, and then it's going to be distributed to hundreds of thousands of endpoints and a lot of top secret agencies and things like that. It was simple as that. Ingenious, yes. Resourceful or whatever, yeah. But was it super duper complicated? The code itself was pretty compact and it was, relatively complicated, but I'm pretty sure most good programmers could write something like that. But the bottom line was, that basically was a supply chain hack, where they hacked a supplier, which happened to be a supplier of IT products. And then once they hacked that, it went out to all of the customers, which included, like secret government agencies and Microsoft and, some of the top cybersecurity firms. It was a huge hack, and it's really good to see in this presidential directive or executive order. I'm not sure which one exactly that he called it, but in this executive order, it was really good to see a whole section dedicated to software and how software should be controlled in the process. Since that hack, when I'm trying to look at new vendors, I always bring that up. Like, what practices do you have in place to prevent something like the SolarWinds Orion hack from happening? But that was a little bit of a tangent, but I was really glad to see that finally addressed, at least from a national standpoint. These are things that, like a lot of the things in his executive order, NIST has been recommending for a couple of years, but they've never really held government contractors up to this standard. So this is going back to you and your business. If you're in construction and you do construction for government entities, any kind of supply chain for government entities, that's all being looked at right now. Everything is on the table. It was very detailed. Obviously, other experts wrote the executive order and he signed it, but everything's on the table. Everything's going to be looked at. Most agencies have to report back within 60 days. Some are given as long as a year to report back. So basically, here's what's going to happen. The agencies are going to start reporting back in the next 60 days to a year, and then the government's going to enact guidelines, and they're going to enact things that if you're going to do business with the government, I'm talking from A to Z. Yes, we've had a lot of these have been in place if you're doing, dealing with, classified information, things like that. But across the board, these things are going to be, they're going to be required for you to do business with the government. And the cool thing is, everything on that list, they're already things that Tech Rescue has brought into our stack, that Tech Rescue is offering to our cybersecurity clients. And so you'll be covered there. But I want you to really be paying attention to what's going on and really take it to heart, because cyber attacks are going up like crazy. And they're happening all over. This particular hack, it made the news because it affected like 40-something% of all gas on the East Coast was affected by that hack. But the attacks are going up like crazy, and we've got to start being proactive, and you've got to start basically bringing your business into 2020 by enacting these cybersecurity controls that NIST has been recommending for at least 2 years, if not longer. Now, I know it's an ongoing process and they change a little bit every year, but you've got to put those controls in place. And if you do business with the government, you're going to have those controls in place, and you're going to have to demonstrate. Now, that's my opinion, but if they're asking all of the agencies to do it in their interaction, it just means it's a very short matter of time before your business that deals with the government, that does government contracts, where you're going to have to get in line with that. And so let's say you're dealing with cities. Same thing. Okay, so the federal government's going to enact it. It'll probably happen this year, that these policies will be put in place, but they're going to start trickling down, and you're going to see cities probably just as quick, if not by the end of the year for sure, you're going to see cities start to expect the same thing from the vendors that they deal with. A couple of things that really leapt out at me from it was one, requiring multi-factor authentication across the board. And so is that implemented already in your business? If not, it needs to be, just because it needs to be, because it's dangerous right now to not have it. But also it's going to be required if you're dealing with the government. So multi-factor authentication across the board. The other thing that leapt out at me was data being encrypted, both in transmission and when it's at rest. Now, from a HIPAA standpoint, that's something that we've had to deal with for years. All of the transactions now basically are happening, in encoded transactions. You've got the ability to add encryption now to emails and things like that. And then also your data at rest. That means if your computer is just sitting, in your data closet or whatever, and somebody drives a truck through the building and takes your computer and hauls it off, that data needs to be encrypted, needs to be protected without anybody having to do anything. That's partially what that means, but also what I saw was a really, really good that has to be addressed is that the way the ransomware criminals, what they're doing now with the data, they're not only ransoming it, which means they encrypt it, they expect money from you, like in Bitcoin typically. Although one of these days we're probably going to see a Dogecoin ransomware. I don't know why that's funny, but it is kind of funny. But anyway, so they take your data, they encrypt it. Well, what they're doing now, instead of only asking for a ransom, now they're also going back and saying, hey, if you restore from a backup, then we're going to take your data and we're going to sell it on the dark web, because we want you to pay us that ransom. And yeah, you may have a backup and you may have a way back from this, but we're just going to take your data and we're going to sell it on the dark web. So that brings in another place that you've got to have encryption. You've got to have encryption on your files when they leave your computer against their will or against your will. That encryption is encryption that's basically tied to your device or your network, that has a key. Typically it's in the network that has a key. And so if they go in and they pull off, proprietary secret number 1, and it's in a file in a Word doc, and they pull it off and go try to sell it on the dark web, it won't work because it'll be encrypted, because it will have left your network. So you're going to start seeing requirements for that kind of stuff for your data. Like I said, it's similar to what we've been seeing for years with HIPAA, but now the government's finally starting to get serious about it. It took something like this to kind of wake them up. Some of the wordage in there, like the wordage about the software development, obviously that was written after the SolarWinds Orion hack, and they were just waiting for the right moment to bring that out, because this particular hack, the Colonial Pipeline hack, doesn't appear to have been caused by some kind of software development or something fancy, if you will. Highly likely, word on the street, so this is just rumor. If I hear different, I will let you know, but word on the street was it was just something very simple like an email, and somebody clicked on it, probably a well-meaning employee clicked on an email, and then boom, their whole network got infected. Also, word on the street is that they paid $5 million for that ransom, which seems kind of low for a company that supplies 41 or 42% of the gas to the East Coast. I bet you they could have asked for $5 billion and probably gotten it. But bottom line, that company wasn't protected. They weren't ready for it. And now you're starting to see from the top, you're starting to see executive order now has come down, which addresses a lot of stuff in a lot of detail. It's a very detailed executive order. You're going to see laws that are going to start to follow along those lines and enforce that. And you're going to start seeing insurance companies enforce that. And so to be in safe harbor, you're going to have encrypted data at rest, encrypted data at transit, multi-factor authentication across the board, threat hunting going on in your network. You're going to have to be monitoring the traffic that's coming in and out of your network, looking for anomalies. Literally, that Colonial Pipeline most likely could have been stopped. The reason I say that, it was criminal, most likely is what they think, and it most likely could have been stopped just by monitoring the traffic for anomalies and then looking and see, hey, somebody's got a foothold in here. We need to do something about it and get it out of here. So you're going to start seeing all those things and more be required either by law or by your insurance company, or if you're doing business with the government, for sure it's going to be they're going to be required. The crazy thing is, just in the last month, had a recommendation back from a CPA. CPAs have laws already in place. The IRS holds them to a certain standard. And the CPA was trying to tell one of my clients, you don't need all that stuff. Just have a good antivirus and a firewall. Okay, y'all, that's like 2018, 2019 good. That's not 2021 good. And that was not good advice at all. Yeah, that's like basic IT, and that's basically putting a tiny little bolt on the door, but that is not security, and that will not cut it in 2021. All right, y'all. So I went on a little longer than I had expected to, but bottom line, I just wanted to catch you up to speed on the cyber security executive order that we knew was coming. Man, I was expecting it to happen like maybe in a month or two. I didn't know it was going to be, like so fast within a couple of days. But here it is. And now it's reality. The clock has started. These government agencies have 60, most of them have 60, up to 360 days to evaluate what they have, start putting practices into place, and basically getting secure. And, all the people out there in the world like me that have been harping on this horse, we've been harping on this for so long. It's good to finally see the government come around to it, because not only do these things affect our businesses, but they also can affect our government, and they also can affect our economy. We've had people that have had to basically have no gas for the last week or two. Okay, great. Now it's going again, but that's a horrible, horrible interruption for our economy. So once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you sticking to the end. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button on whatever platform you're watching. If you loved it, subscribe to it so you'll get a notification next time I do a live video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please be sure to put them with the video, like in the comment section. And as I see those in my notification, I'll go in and deal with them. So stay safe out there and have a great rest of your day, and have a great, safe weekend. All right, trying to go unlive.